Q from Chicago. I was looking at Mount Rushmore posts online and wanted your answer on who do you think should be on the Mount Rushmore of the PG era, specifically. PG era WWE. John Cena, Randy Orton, Edge, and CM Punk. There's your Mount Rushmore. Molly from Toronto, Canada. When Shawn Michaels had his 4 years off, it was the best thing that happened to his career when he returned for his second run, but also it was the best thing that could have happened in his life. Who else had or could have had a great second run with some time off? Well, I mean, not everybody is Shawn Michaels. I mean, he's, one of the GOATs. So he came back and had a run that was, I mean, look, if you were to say to me that you thought his second run was better than his first, I'm not going to dispute that. I mean, he had 2 great runs. Not everybody is Shawn Michaels, but I think Christian Cage and Bryan Danielson have both proven to have had great second halves to their careers. When you look at the body of work they put together, Christian was forced out of the ring for 7 years. Bryan for 3. Both came back and have had tremendous matches. If I go deeper into the memory bank, Monty Brown. I think he was making a convention appearance soon. I haven't heard his name mentioned in a while. Monty Brown is someone who had a world of potential when he retired from TNA, right? That was due to family reasons. If I remember, I think his sister or there was some kind of relative who had died, and I think he retired to take care of her kids. It was something like that. But had he come back, I think he could have been a big star. He had tremendous charisma, great personality, right? The pounce. He could have been a big deal. I think WWE would have eventually scooped him up. And I think they did, right? Well, God, he was in, God, I just remembered. I think he did come back briefly as Marcus Corvan, right? Wasn't he Marcus Corvan on their ECW brand? God, but that was years later. So, I mean, I guess technically maybe he had the chance to have a second half, but I feel like when he left, it was like he was right there on the cusp of something. And so even if he did come back, it just wasn't the same. We had Nigel McGuinness is another one. He did eventually get back into the ring, but it was so many years later. I mean, if he would have come back within a few years of stepping away, I think he had another big run left in him. I do believe that. Nigel was an incredible performer. And I'll throw one more at you. I saw that she was at one of these Comic-Con panels talking, I don't know what she was there for actually, but she was talking about wrestling. AJ Lee. AJ was good. Had she come back a few years later, women's wrestling looked very different than when she left it. Being able to work against the horsewomen and some of the women who followed, she would have had a great run because she was super over. Like, people still follow her and clamor for her to come back to the ring. And if she ever made the decision to come back for like a cameo in the Royal Rumble or something and they hit her music, the place would explode. Even if you weren't a fan of her actual matches, like, you cannot deny how popular she was. I think she would have done very well for herself. Jad from London, England. I rewatched the WWF title match between Kurt Angle and Stone Cold Steve Austin at Unforgiven 2001 in Kurt's hometown of Pittsburgh. And I enjoy it as much as I did when I watched it live at 11 years old. One of the few times Austin lost the match by submission. I've often heard that Austin was originally supposed to win this match, and the only reason it got changed was because of 9/11 being so recent, and it made sense to have the American hero come out on top. Is this true? Surely you would have just had Kurt win anyway, given that it was in Pittsburgh. So the simple answer is, I don't think the decision had been made yet on who was going over in that match at the time that Kurt Angle reached out to Vince McMahon. So about a week or so before the pay-per-view, Kurt called Vince and he pitched the idea of winning the title from Austin because 9/11 had just happened. I mean, it was less than 2 weeks earlier. Like, it was still fresh. And they were still digging out bodies at Ground Zero, for crying out loud. Like, it was just that fresh. And so Kurt thought it would make sense to have the American hero go over and win the title. And according to Kurt, Vince told him, well, that's fine, but you got to ask Steve first. If Steve is cool with it, then we'll do it. So Kurt called Stone Cold, and he made his pitch, and Austin said, sure, I'll drop the title to you. And that's how it happened. Now, do I think, in the absence of 9/11 happening, would Kurt Angle have won the title in Pittsburgh that night? No, I don't think so. I think Austin would have retained. As it was, he dropped the belt right back to Stone Cold 2 weeks later on Raw anyway. I mean, he didn't have it for very long. But I don't think it being in Pittsburgh would have made that much of a difference. I think if 9/11 never happened, then I don't think we would have gotten a title change that night. And the reason that it happened was strictly because of what had happened 2 weeks earlier. And they just wanted to give people that feel-good celebratory moment at the end of the show, which was the right thing to do. Brandon from Long Island. I'm wondering what you think of the Stone Cold quote that if you're in WWE and don't want to be the WWE Champion, you shouldn't work there. In the 2000s, when I was growing up, I always felt like everyone wanted to be the champion and would do whatever it takes to do so. From top stars such as Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, John Cena, and upper mid-card stars like RVD, Christian, Booker T, Edge, and Chris Jericho, these guys to me wanted to be the guy based on the energy and passion that they had on television, regardless of what they were doing storyline-wise. I feel like this type of drive and wanting to be the best has waned a bit in WWE nowadays. What say you? Do I think that everybody should strive to want to be the champion and the top person? I do, but I don't think that it's a prerequisite, to you being in the company. I don't remember the context in which Austin said it, if it was on television or on his podcast, and that's how he really feels. And, he's stone cold, right? He held the championship 6 times, so he's certainly entitled to have that point of view. I think that there is a role that everybody can play on that show, and not everybody is going to be the champion. And some people probably recognize that. Maybe they think they're too small, or they're just not as good as the elite level performers in the company. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't want to be part of WWE or part of AEW, and that they don't have a role to play on the show. Right? You need those people. You need to have those mid-card guys and girls. You need to have those utility players that you can plug in at a moment's notice so they can, fill a void if somebody gets hurt. Or they could be a great tag team champion or a great intercontinental champion, right? There's room for everybody on the show. So I think that's a great quote to use on TV in a promo. Do I agree with it in practice? That if you don't want to be the champion, then you shouldn't work there? No, I don't believe that. Jose from New York City, can you rank these last 5 WrestleManias? 41, 40, 39, 38, and 37. So yeah, I sketched this. I had to think about this, so I sketched this out. I am going to go with WrestleMania 40 in the number 1 spot. 39 is right behind that. 39, on the whole, 39 was a great WrestleMania. I have that at number 2. Then I would go WrestleMania 38, then WrestleMania 41, and then WrestleMania 37. I would rank last out of all of them. So 40, 39, 38, 41, 37 in that order.